That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 948. Directed by Yutaka Nakashima and supervised by Shuichi Ito. After the outsourced episode we had last week, it feels great to know that Nakashima seems to be bringing forth another solid action episode that will spice up a setting that we've seen 1,000 times before now with Udon. When buoyed by the long-awaited next scene from series legend Katsumi Ishizuka that will give the newest fully revealed member of the Nine Red Scabbards their time to shine, there is no possible way this episode will disappoint, especially when it will once again be expanding on the manga content in the best and most atmospheric way, and when Shuichi Ito's clean corrections will lay that nice layer of polish on top of it all. I may be a tad bit worried about how the rest of the action besides Ishizuka will turn out, because all of the other show-offy cuts were cut rather short in the preview, but given what I've learned from this past batch and a half of Nakashima episodes, this likely won't even be a worry when it comes to the finished product. So will episode 948 bring the Udon gang together in just the right way? Time to show them what we're made of and find out. This episode covers the remaining 9 pages of chapter 948 and the first 4 pages of chapter 949, and everything has just enough breathing room to be paced well thanks to an abundance of filler that fills up the seams with Udon content, with stuff like Raizo fighting one of the wardens to get the keys to Kawamatsu's cuffs and his sword, to smaller but just as effective stuff outside of it, with Zoro and Hiyori and one of the Oniwabanshu ninjas, and Big Mom waking up on the way to Onigashima that teases future events greatly, instead of never seeing either plot thread again until we reach their respective climaxes. And they all also go a long way to keep the general pacing of the canon content safe and sound, so nothing really feels like it's majorly dragging. Certain expressions like Kawamatsu's adorable ones when meeting Kiku and Raizo again may unfortunately be not included, but it's all still the complete and utter opposite of what last episode had in store in that regard, and while that one wasn't paced too badly till we reached the second half, I think the efforts on display from the filler in 948 show just why we can't have a page-for-page adaptation like some would hope, and just how filler that wasn't in the original source material can enrich it all the same. It's just more of the same level of adaptation that I've come to expect from this arc and then some. So I can't knock it one bit when it helps what it's adapting stay as fun as it should be, all the while still giving us some equally as fun original content that evens it all out. Though admittedly, I'm one hell of a sucker for the atmospheric flute music in Zoro's scene. While definitely not as good as his board for 946, obviously due to working on 2 episodes in tandem and so close to one another, Nakashima still keeps this episode from feeling bland by portraying his expected visual flair with an array of solid colors this time around more than anything else, as well as solid transitions that feel so simple yet work so well. Sure, this sadly leads to a bit of a flat board in parts that may not be deemed as important, but thanks to Nakashima's talent it still feels pleasant to look at and never outright boring or plain 100%. Largely due in part to his greater focus on compositing this time around, that helps immerse the viewer in Zoro's samurai scuffle with great lighting to complement the amazing color choices. There's for sure better Nakashima boards out there, and I feel like in the long run this one will end up being forgotten in terms of the bigger picture. But it was still one pretty serviceable storyboard that, despite being somewhat conservative, still has that Wano charm. Shuichi Ito's always-on model yet uniquely pancake-like corrections really help this episode animation-wise in lieu of tons and tons of crazy action, with the main action set pieces outside of the big moment of the episode not being bad in any way, but more so just serviceable and not insanely Sakuga. But of course that's not the case for the just mentioned major scene of Kawamatsu's display of power from my absolute favorite Katsumi Ishizuka, that once again houses that rip-roaring and visceral Yutaka Nakamura-like action that we've come to know and love from him, even if it's a bit restrained due to the type of scene that it is and its length. Standing firmly as the animation highlight of the episode, as if that surprises quite literally anyone, and is another sprinkle of quality for 948. Overall, it may be an episode that isn't as strong as Nakashima's previous one due to, of course, the workload of 2 episodes almost right after one another, and the fact that it's a bit sparring with the action animators that it gives. But I still had a pretty fun time, as I'm used to having with Nakashima's episodes thanks to a couple different aspects, and it's far away from feeling boring but somewhat well paced like 947 was. However, my reaction when I was greeted with the preview for episode 949 is something that caught me off guard and raised my hype for it quite a bit. Kenichi Takashita's direction and storyboard looks so incredibly immersive and chock full of well-boarded and timed filler action that Masahiro Kitasaki looks to be showing off with, as well as a serious visual tone. I've got my fingers crossed that there's still more to show outside of what we've already seen, because I'm excitedly looking forward to the finished product a whole hell of a lot more now. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and I'm so glad we ended up getting the Genga for Ishizuka Zoro scene in the lead up to this.